Right, hi guys. Next stage of this Camtasia recording is for us to do the spine. So I'm going to rig the spine up from the pelvis. Then I'm going to move on to rigging the clavicles, the arms, and then doing set-driven keys for the fingers. So first of all, we'll start with the spine. So the spine goes from basically here at the base. I'll just turn this off. Yeah, from here for the space. Then I'm going up to this joint here, which is the base of the neck. So, and for that I'm going to use a spline IK controller, and it gets a little bit tricky, especially if you don't use layers. So first of all, got the joints on. So I'm going to go from this joint here up to the top. So if you go to the top and skeleton, and here's the IK spline handle tool. If you click on the box, as long as you've got auto parent curve turned off, then you're happy. You can also set the resolution here. So I'm going to go from this base to the top of the neck. And what that does, if you look at the outliner, just close the tool settings. If you look at the outliner, it creates a curve, which is what our spine curvature is based on, and an IK handle at the top. Now the curve, if you select it, you see you can't see a damn thing. And you think, oh, where the hell is it? It's in there somewhere. But our joints are in the way, and also our IK handle's in the way. So just turn off the visibility of the joints and visibility of the geometry, and there is the curve. At the top is the IK handle. We don't really want that, so I'm just going to temporarily add it to the joints layer. So there we've got our curve. And that dictates, I'll just show you. Turn on the joints again and put it on template. If I grab the curve and I grab a CV from that curve, if I move that CV, you see how it moves the bones? Now, because of all this messing around with bones, curves and IK, what I'm going to want to do is add a controller to these CV curves. And it's really quite easy when you know how. We're going to use this thing called clusters, and clusters are exactly the same as groups, but they're kind of subgroups. So they're little things. So you can add clusters to vertices. So you can make a cluster out of vertices, and then you can essentially have its own pivot point. You can select it the same way as you can with groups, but they're what's called sub-objects. So grab these two top control vertices for the curve. Make sure you got the curve selected. Make sure you got the joints so you can't select them. And if you right click on the curve, then you go to control vertices. So then you go to, and the cluster is a deformer, so I'm going to create a deformer. Go down to cluster, and it appears like a little group of grapes down here. So it gives you a cluster handle. If you do the same thing for the bottom, so right click on there, go to control vertices, and grab these two. You can hardly see them, so it shows you how difficult it is. So again, go to create deformers, cluster, and see for both of these it puts a little C there. And that C is the cluster. There we go. Now we're going to want to change the cluster handles and the pivot points. In the same way as groups, you can change the pivot points. So this cluster at the top, I'm going to put the pivot point about here. So I'm just going to turn on snap to point. I'm going to move this center of the cluster handle to about there. So I'm just going to press insert. Oh, I'm going to turn off template. to there. Select the other cluster. I'm going to put that kind of there. So the pivot points. Press insert again. Let's just try them out, see if that works. Yeah, that works about nicely. And it's just moving those, it's just rotating those CVs in that cluster. So 0 the rotations. Back, grab that cluster at the top, and try it out and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, move it. See if it works. So you've got a nice bendable spine there. So that means that all I have to do now is to grab a couple of controllers and put it around that spine. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to drag basically a circle on the grid. I've still got the snap on. So scale it up, move it out. Put spot. Why did I say spot? I don't know. Put the thing back on, and it's probably good if you put the visibility of the geo on, because you want they want these controls to be a bit visible. Over here, I'm going to put the pelvis underneath it, but I'm just going to keep that there, and I'm going to duplicate that and move that up to about there. Now, in the best tradition of kind of like Blue Peter and all those kind of things, you can, I mean, I'm doing this kind of for quickness to show you guys so you're not wading through all this Camtasia nonsense for too long, but you can, and I would suggest that you actually make these controllers unique in some way to the spine, and you can put many of these down here. You can increase the resolution of that curve, put many clusters on, and put loads more controls on there. So, let's go and don't forget to rename them either. So this is the upper cluster, upper spine cluster. This is the lower spine cluster. And essentially, just grab these, rename these, and remember to freeze them. Freeze transforms, and you should put that on your shelf. Freeze transforms. So, and you can just parent or constrain. I'm going to constrain the clusters to this. This is the lower control, lower spine control. This is the upper spine control. Oh. And you could just essentially just constrain the cluster, so the lower to the lower. Make sure you select the control first. Constrain all, maintain offset, apply. Constrain, orient, maintain offset, all, apply. And upper to upper. Constrain point, constrain orient. And now the character. Oof. Yeah. You've got your spine controls, and as I said before, you can have quite a few clusters down this spine here. Play around with them, see what you think. So that's the spine. The next I'm going to do the arm and then work back to the clavicle. So you've got the arm here, and I'll just do this right arm. So first of all, I want the IK handle tool, and I'm going to go shoulder to the wrist. Okay, make sure it's a rotate plane solver. So the shoulder to the wrist. Fantastic. So now we've got the IK handle. Now if you noticed, I've put in an actual wrist bone. If you're having problems with orientation, if you just end the arm there, if you continue onto a wrist bone, then the orientation is already set up for the hand. It just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so at the moment we've just got the IK handle here, and as I said before, I'm going to use set driven keys for these fingers. Just line them up a bit better. Yeah, it's a little bit kind of shoddy there. Yeah, that's the IK handle there. Oh, still got a point on, that's why. So just line it up nicely. That'll do fine. It helps an awful lot when you're actually doing weighting. It's all nicely lined up. Freeze this back. Right, that's about right. So I'm going to grab a curve on the floor, on the grid. There we go. This curve is going to go around the hand. Now, again, if you've got time, I'm sure you'll be saying, "No, I haven't got time." I'd like these controls to actually reflect what they're actually moving around. So some people do hands, all that kind of stuff. Turn snap on. I'm just going to put it there where the IK handle is, and I'm going to orientate it so it's kind of on the wrist and it looks about right. Then I'm going to freeze that back. So then grab the IK handle there. Well, I've got to grab the actual the IK handle. Constrain. Point. Now I'm going to put the orient on another control, so that the hand, so that the one control isn't doing both of them. If you look at the orients here, because I've frozen that back, it zeroed that off. That should be about there. So that's what the point. Okay, the arm moves as it should. let's get and I do the hand, which is basically this bone here. There's a control attached to this bone here, and that kind of rotates the hand. I could just put it on this here. And then put the fingers on, and then put a vector at the back. Hi again, guys. Just getting back to it from coming in and seeing everybody and how they're doing it. Yeah, you're all doing okay. So getting back to Maya. Oh, look at this. Stop it. Right, so what I've done is I put a controller on the arm, and since I wasn't kind of broadcasting, what I've done is I've just put a constraint from this controller to that bone there. So now it's just an orient constraint. Now whenever that rotates, that moves. So it's exactly the same, just basically this controller to that bone. So I'm just going to go through the set driven keys and looking at some of these controls like scale and visibility I don't need on this hand. So grab the hand. If you go to Window, General Editor, Channel Control, I can basically need to translate, lock the scales out. If you notice they disappear from over here. So I've just got the rotate and translate. So they're just hidden at the moment. I could lock them out as well, but hiding them is just fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a set driven key from an attribute on this control to these fingers rotating. And just as a matter of interest, it doesn't matter about the orientation of these final kind of ends of fingers, because we don't actually use them. So a lot of you guys are asking about that. So I'm just going to do, say, 2 of these fingers, and I want to rotate them up a tiny bit, because you can kind of rotate your fingers up a little bit, and all the way to a clenched fist. So what I'm going to do, grab these, and I'm just going to do the pinky and this finger as an example. So grab the controller, modify, add attribute. So this is called the pinky finger control. You can call it what you want. It's on the attribute, so it's not actually going to appear in the outline. I'm going to do minimum -1, maximum 10, and the default is 0. So I'm just going to add that, and it comes up there. While I'm here, I'll put this is the ring finger control. And the same, -1, 10, and add. And just when these numbers go from -1 to 10, they just rotate up and down. You can see what I mean in a second. You can also put a spread control on here, so that the fingers kind of spread apart from each other. I'm going to put one of those on. So modify, add attribute, finger spread control, minimum 10, maximum 10, minimum. So that's the finger spread control. So what I'm going to do is put these rotations on to there. So the pinky finger control. So I'm putting a set driven key on that. So select that. So I'm going to create, animate, set driven key, set. So the driver, load the driver, pinky finger control. The driven is this finger here. No driven. If you notice, it looks like I've selected all the joints, but I haven't. I've only selected one of them. So just going to go in the outliner, drill down to get them. Here's the pinky finger controls. So the pinkies are here. So these are the joints on the pinky finger. So now I have selected. And if you load the driven again, you'll see it's all of them there. So it's just in. It looks like it's rotate Z. So rotate. So select the rotate Z. And I just go through each of these and rotate Z. And then that's keyed it as default. So key it to default. I'm just checking to see the pinky finger control 0 there. So I'm just keying it at 0 and watch how it changes colour. So key. So key that. Key that. Key that. Key that, and it keeps changing colour for each of those. So I've gone down the bone and done it for default. Grab the control again, put it at -1. And you see how what I'll do is I'll grab this here, and I just want to rotate the viewport round. So I'm just going to lift it up a little bit. So go through here, lift it up a little bit. Here, lift it up a little bit. And see, I'm only doing the first 3 because the end joint doesn't matter. And then go through them and key them again. Key, key. So put keys on them all again. I want to key them for clench now. So go back to the control, put it at 10, so it's fully clenched. Then grab that one, rotate that round. Grab that one, rotate that round. Grab that one, rotate that round. So now I've got it so the fist is kind of rotated that. Okay. Making sure it's it's rotate Z. Is it rotate Z? So that should give you a clue. So key, key, key. So I've keyed those, rotated. So let's try it. Pinky finger control. If you highlight the letters there, middle mouse, drag sideways, it should show you between all of them. That's fine. So that's the first one. The ring finger control is done exactly the same way. Find it in the outliner. Select them all. Load those as drivens. And again it's rotating Z. So select it, you can select those down there. And you notice when I go off it, they still stay in the driven. So here, ring finger control is 0. Of those, nothing's happening, and key them. Nope, I need to rotate, rotate, key. Just make sure that they're all changed colour. And that is at -1. That is rotated up a tiny bit. That's rotated up a tiny bit. That is rotated up a tiny bit. Remember to key them. Just like that. When that's at 10, I'm going to want to rotate this down, rotate that, down, rotate that, down, rotate that. We don't need to rotate that last one, doesn't make any difference. And key it again. Set the controller again. Ring finger control. Okay, something's gone wrong there. So, to find out what's gone wrong, I've keyed something. So select the bones there. Rotate Z, it's highlighted, coloured. That's the only thing I've been rotating. So something hasn't keyed. So I can just, because I've frozen the bones, I can just zero those back and see where it's gone wrong. And this just happens every now and again. It's a bit of a convoluted process. Okay. So the ring finger, it's rotate Z on there, rotate Z on there. So key it again, key, key, key. Ring finger -1. Key. I'm just going to do that first joint in this one. So that's keyed. That to 10. Ring finger. I'm just going to rotate that and then key it. That, rotate, key it, that, rotate, key it. So I've keyed it. Okay, so it's not showing. So it's something else. Just make sure that this is the ring finger. Yeah, that's right. They're showing, there's keys on it. So what you can do is you can look at the graph editor, because it does show up on the graph editor. So I select the object that drives it. No, it's not showing up on the graph editor. The set driven key. It's not showing up. See, it says right arm control, pinky finger control. So there is, it is registered, but it's not doing it. In this case, I'd go back to 0 and break all the connections, as I'm doing now. Right, I just found out the problem. It was because I was putting it on the pinky finger control. So we've got the ring finger control sorted now. So if you select the word, so it's getting a bit noisy in here. right and left jog of the mouse, you can do that. So that's the hand. You can do the same for the thumb, the hand, and just put the null vector into the arm. So null vector really just wants the IK, right arm IK, and if you create a locator and put that locator just behind the elbow. Just turn off the geo, put snap on, snap to the elbow and just pull it back. Make sure you turn, snap off, pull it back, and you just essentially grab that, grab the IK and go to constrain pole vector. Draws that line there so you know it's worked, and now you've got an elbow control. That's really it for the arm. Just have to duplicate that for the other side for the arm, and next we'll do the neck and the head.